Wait for it. What's up, Internet? What's going on? How you doing? Where you been? What you been doing? What you been doing? Sorry, I had my gain turned up too loud, and I had to turn it down. What's up? Hey, everybody. How you doing? Good to be here today on a glorious Monday. Sorry, I'm scrolling back the chat the wrong way. Sorry about that. I was clicking on the wrong thing. There we go. Whoa. Hey, how's everybody doing today? First one to the chat yet again. Frank Dominguez. First one to the chat once again. And, all that living up in the attic is starting to really pay off, my man. And Smutchgood Disc is here second. Mellow Moogle coming in third. Gabe W. Nisi. Steven Skoglund. Candy Overhauls. Let's see here. Carl Snow is here. Speaking of Carl Snow, brand new patronizer today to the Patreon. Thank you very much, Carl. I like your avatar, too. I like that avatar. That's dope. Oh, let's see. Turbofish sneaking in. What's going on? How you doing? Let's see who else is here. Ben Border is here. What's going on? Jeffro, who also has a cool avatar, too. I'm really... I have an affinity to the black and white dudes with beards. Right? If you have an avatar that's black and white with dudes with beards, I'm probably into it, right? Let's see who else is here. Dank Tanks and Tim Lewis and Bare Bottom Aquariums. How you doing? Sarah Canopo coming in number 20. Coming in 20th. That's good. It's good to be here. Wushu Jimmy Brown is here. CNH Aquatics. Cute Nix. How you doing? Just checking you out. Cute Nix right here on the monitor. Thank you very much again. I'm probably just going to keep saying thanks for that because that's amazing. That's the biggest thing I've ever gotten in the mail. That's the craziest thing. That's the craziest mail time I've ever gotten. If there was a mail time. I don't have a mail time show. Maybe I should get a P.O. box and you guys could send me like snippets and like weird pieces of paper. That'd be pretty cool. I'd be into that. Sorry, the lighting in here is really weird today. If anybody's noticing that that's a little bit odd. I'm having to really mess with the camera pretty hard. And I will explain what that's all about. I think I got to change the brightness a little bit. It's a little yellow in here. Hey! Is that better? I think that's a little bit better. There we go. I don't know. It's not so yellow now. Hey, apply. There we go. Work button. Yeah, thanks. But what the heck was I talking about? Oh, yeah. So the reason that the lighting is weird in here, I don't have my normal overhead lighting. The reason for that is that Vicky and I have been spending quite a bit of time eliminating some of the weird knob and tube electrical that is in the house here that was very sneakily included in our home. A bunch of the rewiring was done at one point in time. But there's still some old knob and tube stuff we're eliminating, which is actually just the overhead lights up here, which means crawling in between joists and sticking my arm in stuff, and I'm all bruised up and kind of bashed up and scratched up and stuff like that. But it is awesome to be able to work with my lady and do something that needs to get done with the house. Just to make it a little bit safer, a little bit nicer, and make sure that things are gonna go smoother with the house. You know what I mean? So, and then once that's done, then we'll be able to do the insulation project, which you guys and I have discussed on numerous occasions. Just before the winter gets here, we're gonna really have to get that done. And so just to give us a little more energy efficiency over the winter, it just needs to be done. But that's good news. It's not bad news. The weird thing is one of the outlets that the streamy computers run off of actually needs to get redone. So that one's going to be the fun one, of trying to make the deadline of doing that in the middle of the whenever. Just to make sure that I can edit video and all that kind of stuff. I may end up having to run an extension cord across the house, which it's not the greatest idea in the world, but sometimes you got to just patch it together. But let's say hi to a couple other people. Gary B is here. What's up? Ryan Brown just ordered some Repens. This is good timing. Oh, right on. Worked out perfect timing. Get some answer some questions and things along those lines. And my phone is ringing. I have to actually have it in my pocket. Don't know what that is. Okay, don't know who you are. So let me just go back over there on the ground. So we got good timing on some plant stuff. We'll talk about some Repens. There'll be the video portion coming up later. And Nathan Hazlitt, what's up, man? How you doing? Wushu, Joel needs to find a boxer to help with his intros one day just because. Oh, a beatboxer. Oh, I should find a beatboxer, yeah. For some reason I missed the beat part. But yeah, I should find a beatboxer. That'd be cool. I would definitely record that and put it up and let you know who it was, right? AMA is here. AMA Aquatics, how you doing? He's recovering. Everybody give a shout out to AMA. He's recovering from some light surgery, and give him a shout out. Let him know that we're all thinking about him. Hopefully that he's feeling well and improving and on the up and up. Hopefully that all works out. We were messaging earlier that he's been released. He's been released by the doctors. The doctors said, "Hey man, you better get out of here. Just release you into the wild." So shout out to AMA. Hope you're feeling a lot better, and hope to see some progress reports coming up here. And then, the next thing, just like, marathon reports or whatever, like, check out my marathon time. What's up? How you doing? Anybody's missing out on my mug. My mug's still here. My mug's still here doing the thing that my mugs do, which hold coffee for me. Delicious coffee. Is my phone ringing again? Okay, my phone's just, I guess, going to keep ringing. I don't know who that is. I don't know who that is that's calling, but it looks like they're just going to keep calling. I don't know. Something wrong. Nisi is here. Good to see you. Oh, Caleb Overholes is here. Hey, Caleb, how you doing? Good to see Caleb out here. Annie Confetti. Let's see. Show up for the occasional video makes it worth it. I guess just try to do better. Nisi, I've had this channel for years, so I figured I'm dead analytics-wise. All right, what's going on here? What is happening here? What's going on with Mellow Moogle and old Nisi there? I don't know. I'm confused. What's happening in the chat? All right, the picture is clear. I can count the gray hairs in my goatee. Thank you very much. It's getting very Ra's al Ghul over here. So I used to look like the I used to look like the guy from Far Cry 2, the video game. I used to look like the bad guy from Far Cry 2. Now I'm starting to look like Ra's al Ghul because I'm getting all this gray, getting this real gray streak up in here in this beard. Hopefully it just turns all super gray here and everyone just goes, man, that guy's so old. Whoa, he's the oldest of the old. And I'll just laugh and laugh and laugh and, have a gray beard. I don't know. Let's see. Phil Emerson says to touch the like button. That's right. You got to hit the, you got to hit the like button. Apparently, it's a good thing to do. Candy Overhauls has posted the Patreon link in the chat for anybody that was wondering what it was. He's saying, yay for new Patreons. Thank you. Yay for the new Patreons for sure. We have a couple of them that I'm going to have to get to because they're not in the film roll. And some people were asking me, like, how do you get into the film roll? What is this log in? What are you doing? Log in, silly. What is this unlogged? Is it are you logged out or are you unlogged? you'd be unlogged, right? Or logged out. We have some people deleted, so I don't want to accidentally read those ones off. But we do have some other new patronizers here. Teresa Keys is one of them. Haven't seen her in the chat, but we did see Carl Snow. Carl is here, a new patronizer, and Sandman redid his profile, which is cool. It looks much better now, honestly. His profile looks way better. Rob Woodward and Brett A. Dill and James Hirsch and Tesla stuff also new, and Justin Boylard. Boliard. I don't know how to say that. But we definitely do have some new patronizers. People are asking when is the video change. I update that after the first of the month because that's how the Patreon works. It charges once a month, and some people just drop off for whatever reasons. Most of them, I'm sure, not bad. Although I have gotten some fairly interesting comments from people, but. Sometimes people drop off before the end of the month and that kind of stuff, and I don't think that they should necessarily get the same props like in the video the whole entire month. So it's the people from the beginning of the month till the end of the month, and that's how the video shout out portion works, if that makes sense. And I don't know where my chat went. It went away. It has disappeared into the ether. There it is. All right. So that's back, but I also wanted to address a post from a friend of mine. I'm not going to say who it was because he posted it in his private group, but he was basically addressing some of the hate and stuff that comes out there, and because that kind of crossed my mind when I was just talking about the patronizers, that some people were upset and went away, which is fine. It's all good. It's their prerogative. That I would like to give a shout out to all those people in the same regards to that sort of line of thinking that there's always going to be negative people out there. That's right. There's always going to be negative people out there, and I consistently get negative messages, and those always sit in my head like a maniac. It's crazy because I constantly get positive messages too, and do those sit and rattle around in my head all day? No, they don't. It's always the negative ones. So it is a big pain in the butt to try and get over that kind of stuff and get past it. It's unfortunately just part of the world. You know, there's always going to be some people that are disliking it. So I try to focus on those 90% of awesome, whether it's comments or messages or emails or any of that kind of stuff. 90% of it's positive. So it's a mind game for me to try and stay in my headspace. But just remember, any of that negative stuff or any of that kind of stuff like out there, just don't forget to just stay inspired by the 90% that are saying, hey man, keep up the work. This is awesome. I can't wait to see more stuff and that kind of thing. So just remember to focus on that 90%. The 10%, just flush it down the toilet if that works for you. Maybe print it out, run it through a shredder, and then flush it down the toilet. Maybe that would help. So maybe that would help that you actually did something. Maybe throw it in the compost or something. Throw it out there with the chicken doo. You know what I'm saying? The chicken doo. But hopefully that works. Crew Quid was asking, do I have a P.O. box? I don't have a P.O. box right now. I'm considering getting one since we relocated to Tacoma. A little bit weird because I'm in this like weird kind of dead zone of P.O. box post offices. The one that's really close to my house is only open like 3 hours a day. I don't understand. Maybe it's like a satellite office or something. I don't really get it. I don't understand it. So I was thinking about getting a P.O. box there initially, and then I realized, wait a minute, their hours of operation are crazy. They're like not open on Thursday, which is odd. It's really odd. But so then I was looking at the other post office, and they're pretty like booked up or whatever, so I could get like a real tiny one or a giant one and not like just a regular P.O. box. So I'm going to probably be heading up there when I ship some stuff and get a little inquiry about a P.O. box, if maybe that's worthwhile or whatever. for right now, I'm pretty much just like, hey, let's not have a P.O. box because I don't have one yet. If that makes sense, right? It's like, I don't have one because I don't have one. It's pretty smooth. Smooth as ice. So we'll see how it goes. And as far as that P.O. box kind of stuff goes, let's see, Crewquid, Wyatt Ward saying, I thought the P.O. box area is always open, but that's mostly in my area, so who knows. Like at the big post office down here, that area is always open, but the one right near my house gets locked up. I don't know. It's weird. It's really odd. Like I said, I'm not sure if it's like a satellite office where they just kind of do... Oops, sorry, I hit the mic. That's the worst. That's the pits. Sorry about that. But like maybe they just... It's a hub or something. I don't really understand it 100%, but that's just how they have these really weird hours that you can't get in there. So, Wushu Jimmy Brown is asking, how did you manage to avoid running into Frank Dominguez while I was working in the attic? Well, he's a very crafty ghost-like character. So, I have seen wisps of him escaping around the corner. Those of you out there that don't know who Frank Dominguez is the first one to the chat. Almost every time. He's the reigning champion of first to the chat, and the ongoing joke is that he lives in my attic. That's how he's able to get. So quickly into the chat because he knows exactly what's going on in the attic. So, but he is like he's like a ghost. He's like a phantom. He's like the phantasma. He's I see little wisps of him going around the corner, and here we're clunking in the night. So. It's that kind of situation. He's like half ghost. It's all good. Just picked up a protein skimmer for the little reef. Kevin Keener, what's up, bearded brother? How you doing? April W is here, and maybe I missed something. Let me see. Question, do you ever use oil paint? If so, what varnishes do you like to use? I rarely use oil paint anymore. I've been over this in a couple of videos in the past. I rarely use oil paint anymore, mainly because the pigment concentration in acrylic paint is so much better than it used to be. If you went back 10 years ago, I would have been like, man, oil's the only way to go. But nowadays, the acrylic paint and with the additives that you can use in acrylic paint, it is very much more cost effective to work in acrylic, and the time frame. Of working with acrylic is more to my speed. So I like to work really quickly. I like to really quickly layer colors and things like that. And you can't, I know... There's always the debate of like oil blends so much, blah, 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 whatever. It just works better for me to use acrylic. And the UV protection now for acrylic out there is just so much better than oil. There's nothing worse for me than a sun-baked painting that just looks like crap after, 5 years. Where it's like 5 years of sun has been going across it, and you get like, it gets all sun-baked and stuff like that. So I just stick with acrylic now because I can always add UV. Really easily, UV protection to my colored paintings and stuff like that, and it works out a lot better for the pocketbook also to get a lot more volume and be able to do bigger projects and stuff like that. I jumped onto the roof when he hears me coming. That's a good point. Very sneaky. Gone Mad's going to trim and replant some Repens after tree decorating. Right on. Some people say Staurogyne, some people say Staurogyne. To each his own. It's not that big of a deal. I say Staurogyne because of my American accent. I just say it that way. But you guys get what I'm talking about. Sashimi Whiskey is here. I want to be in my movie. Well, Sashimi, we should definitely do some movie projects coming up. That's for sure. I don't know. I think we were talking about doing a hike this week, which might work, might not. I don't know. So we'll see how the schedule goes. I was trying to figure out. So those of you that are in Europe right now and lacking of sleep and just wondering, When is this guy going to do an early stream? Tomorrow. There will be a 10 a.m. Early stream. As somebody had posted in the chat, really appreciate the Real Fish Talk episodes that we're doing with Cory. As you guys know, Cory, well, not you guys, but everybody knows. Everybody in the whole entire world knows. No, sorry. Cory is on vacation right now with his wife. He is doing some private vacation time, which is important. Got to get that R&R. So he's going to be gone for a week. We have some pre-recorded stuff, so we won't be going live, but the recorded stuff will be coming out via the podcast. If you guys haven't checked out the Real Fish Talk podcast, that's through the Aquarium Co-op. So if you go like on any podcast app and just check out, look for like Aquarium Co-op or the Real Fish Talk, you'll be able to find it pretty easy. And check that out if you do get a chance at some point in time. It's mainly Cory and I. We pick a topic, and then we just go rambling into it. It's a long format thing where we can really get in depth and talk about, our experiences with, hey, have you tried this? Oh, have you tried that? Did you do this medication? Did you do this light? Have you done this? Blah, blah, blah. So there's a lot that goes into it that's I'm a huge fan of the long format stuff. I'm a big fan of short format stuff too. So I got a couple of messages today that were pretty stoked about the short videos that I've been trying to get more and more of those short videos out. And I guess this is the tie-in to the podcast that I was talking about and the Patreon, right? Is that all that stuff going on? You guys supporting all that stuff means I'll be able to keep making more stuff. So more videos, more behind the scenes stuff, maybe me getting hit and run on the freeway. I should have had a camera running out the back window, I guess. Who knew that was going to happen? But, so you guys supporting all that stuff is how more of that stuff comes out, if that makes sense. If that makes any sense when I say if that makes sense, because I continue to keep saying that. Douglas Medellin is Medellin. Sorry, Medellin, not Medellin. Was asking, what about a regular mailbox? I do have a regular mailbox. The last thing I want to do is post up like my home address on, just straight up on the internet, right? The easy way to get a hold of me is through darkstararts.com. My email is there. It's joel@darkstararts. And you guys can always email me at any time, any stuff that you guys need. You can always message me through YouTube, all that kind of stuff. So if you happen to go there, if you do happen to go to darkstararts.com, there is an Amazon banner at the top. Be sure to click through that before you go buy a whole bunch of Cyber Monday stuff on Amazon. It basically says that we sent you. It tells Amazon that we sent you, and it basically just gives a little kickback that would probably end up going to some accidental clickbait thing that you clicked on at some point in time, right? So it's better to go to somebody you know. If not me, I always go through the Disabled Veterans Amazon banner before I go buy stuff on the Amazon. I can't go through my own, right? Even if I could, I wouldn't. Even if I could go through my own and figure out how to do that, I wouldn't. But I go through the Disabled Veterans. If it's kicking those guys back $5 or anything or something like that, hopefully it's helping out. Hopefully it's just helping out. I know that a lot of people use the Disabled Veterans one. So if you don't want to go through my Amazon banner, go through the Disabled Veterans. That is the one that I recommend, the DAV. If you just look up DAV, you can find it and turn off your ad blocker, and then you can find the Amazon banner and click through it. It doesn't change the price or anything like that. So, Carl Snow, it's all good in the nerd hood, man. Just happy to help. I'm really digging the Real Fish Tank podcast. There it is. There's the comment I was reading. I'm really learning a lot while at work. That's one of the big things one of the reasons that I like this long format stuff is that while I'm working, I can check in with stuff. I can check in with things that are going on, and I always gravitate to the longer format stuff because as I'm working, I can't necessarily be watching a screen. So that's one of the big reasons that I'm working really hard to produce the kind of stuff that I like to intake. You know what I mean? Like, as far as all the media and YouTube and podcasts and stuff, all that stuff I listen to is almost always long format because it just works out so much better. And Steven Skoglund, if you haven't checked out Steven Skoglund's channel, he is in the chat. He's building a whole new fish room in his basement. And Steven's got to email me because I have some hot tips for him on that basement build that he is working on. So I'm trying to keep up with the chat here. If I miss anything, you guys, don't be freaked out about like double posting. Just give it a couple of minutes. If you guys realize I didn't get to something that you needed me to answer, you can always repost it into the chat. And if you're double posting, you should hit the like button, right? Is that how it works? I think that's how it works. I started cackling like I'm getting old, guys. Did you hear that? Started cackling like a weirdo. Sorry. I've had too much coffee today, and I've been running around like a maniac. So, but it's been a good day. It's been a good day. I'm happy to be here. I'm glad to get some Staurogyne, however you want to say it, Staurogyne. I'm glad to get some Repens into the shrimp tank. This is the 150-gallon shrimp tank. That is slowly but surely replacing my other tanks as the centerpiece, probably because it's getting more work done on it on a regular basis than the other tanks. But those of you that are looking forward to some of the Dragonstone and hardscape stuff, that'll be coming up tomorrow. Tuesdays are typically hardscape, so rocks and driftwood and that kind of stuff. This week will actually be rocks and things, which will be me actually... You guys will actually get to see some video of me putting in that Dragonstone that I did the goofy unboxing video of with over the weekend. So that'll be going in on Tuesday. So everybody tune in tomorrow that's interested in that. And if you aren't, still tune in and just be uninterested, I guess. Right? Is that how that goes? I'm pretty sure that's how it goes. Keel Quigley is asking, what's the best way to buy my art? We've definitely got some art stuff going on here, so I'm going to just answer it real quick right before we go, because we got 3 minutes before we go to the video part. So as Nisi is answering, you can shoot me an email. As Steve was saying, you can go to darkstararts.com and check out some of my pieces. A lot of them on there aren't for sale. They may or may not have been sold. I might still have them, like that one right over there. People constantly ask me, hey, I just want to see a price and hit a button. And I would love to be that guy. I'd love to be able to be that guy. But if I had to put a price up there where you just hit a button, there's not very many people that would be able to afford that nonsense. You know what I'm saying? Because I would have to overprice against anything that I've ever had it out there before, right? So what most people don't understand is that when you go to a art show at a studio or something like that, they're charging a large commission, right? So let's say this piece back here, like let's say that painting back there was $750 at a studio during an art show. Probably 400 of that would go to the studio, the hosts that would host the building and stuff like that, right? Now, if I posted this, for instance, minus that 400 for sale online for $350, I would have, what would I have? I would have a contract conflict with the people that were selling my art and throwing the show. Because we sign a contract and says, blah, 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 I'm not going to da-da-da-da-da and circumvent any of that stuff. So I would either A, end up in a legal battle, or I would have to post these kinds of things for like $1,200 to make sure that I wasn't going around the gallery, right? Or studio, gallery, whatever you want to call it. So that I wouldn't have broken any kind of contract with those guys, because oftentimes when you have a big show like that, a bunch of pieces end up coming back, like this one right here. This one was in a show with a bunch of other paintings, and that's one of a couple of them that came back from it. So that's why it's always confusing to people, because they go like, why isn't there just a price up here? I just want to hit a button and you ship it to me and whatnot. That's why, because of contract conflicts and all sorts of things. And plus, I would have to put these outrageous prices up on there that I don't even feel would be reasonable. So that's the reason why. It does mean that there's a couple extra hoops. You got to shoot me an email, let me know what's going on. But here's the real upside to it is that people can contact me and get on a schedule and put a deposit down on a piece that you want specifically, right? So let's say this piece right here. This one is actually for Jennifer J. Sarchicino. This was a Patreon situation that we had that I forgot to send her shrimp to her. The one that I had kind of sucked. So this is the one that I'm remaking. I'm repainting her a new one from hand. Probably going to be about 7 hours worth of work to get it. And then I'm going to be shipping it out to her. But like I said, the upside is that you'll be able to get the kind of art you can get the kind of art that you're looking for, and we can also have a discussion about it that, like, you're like, hey, I like Bosemani's, I want a red one. Kind of the thing that you can go down that road and get in a kind of a good position where you're going to get what you want, and I'm also going to get paid for my time, blah, blah, blah. So hopefully that like kind of clears up a little bit of the mud of why, because more often than not, people are like, man, I don't want to have to jump through all these hoops. I just want to click a thing and you send it to me. And so hopefully that kind of clears it up a little bit, and then we'll be able to we'll be able to, like, hopefully work on some other projects down the line. But as I mentioned earlier, the Patreon is the big to do, because that's really where we're trying to hit a goal, and trying to just keep doing better and better and doing more and more stuff. So those of you out there that really, really, really like the short videos and that kind of stuff, that's the way to encourage that stuff to get happening, if that makes sense. Raymond Bearden, yeah, clear as mud. It's totally clear as mud, that's for sure. It's just it's kind of just the life of trying to find the middle ground, because I don't make a bunch of prints and stuff. Maybe someday I will, I'm not sure. Maybe someday I'll do the run 1,000 prints of something, and then people will be able to just buy a poster or whatever. But we'll see how that goes. All about DIY. Do you ever do pencil drawings? That's my area of expertise. I like doing realistic portraits. A lot of fun, while a bunch of time. Yes, it does take a bunch of time to do the pencil drawings and stuff like that. I used to, when I started, I used to do charcoal and pencil drawings. I used to do them all the time. I slowly ended up walking away from it just because I guess just my personal style, my personal artistic style started to change, and I wanted to do different stuff. And then I started playing with paint, and then I started painting big walls, and then I started playing with big sprayers and doing all that kind of crazy stuff. And I just got entranced with that. And so I still do some pencil drawing pretty rarely, but not a ton anymore. Oh, Lisa Gum was just stopping by to drop a like and have a good evening and say goodbye. Well, maybe Lisa is in Europe and it's super late, so she better mark it on her calendar tomorrow, 10 a.m. You get the early one. Maybe that's what's going on. Fish out of water. Hello, how you doing? Good to see you. Kiel Quigley, thanks, man. I don't mind jumping through hoops. Okay, yeah. See, so for some people, it's not super prohibitive. It's also on the upside that a lot of times you end up getting what you were thinking about and stuff like that. Okay, well, we're going to go on to the video because now we're almost a little bit late to get to the video, so let's not dilly-dally, you guys. Hold on, I clicked the wrong button. Sorry about that. Moving on. There we go, and the chat came on and everything. Oh, but the video started midstream. All right, here we go. Yes, are you guys ready for the video portion? Are you excited for the video portion? You should be. Check that out. What's that a little pot of? It's a little pot. Staurogyne Repens. Otherwise known as Repens, man. So, what am I doing? What is happening right now? It's so violent. Oh, such a violent interaction with this Small little pot of plants. Oh my. Well, I find the easiest way to get the pot off is to actually just cut it and get rid of it. This rock wool here, what I'm removing from the roots, is called rock wool. Originally, it was a insulation material for, guess what? Steam engines. I know that it won't deteriorate in your tank, but it also won't do anything great for your tank. So I get rid of it. I personally get rid of it. I've seen it just kind of become like a little nitrate sponge or doo-doo nitrite sponge, just kind of collect a bunch of doo-doo and stuff like that. Although I have seen a bunch of people have good experiences with just utilizing the pot and placing them in an aquarium. And like I said, in my opinion, the rock wool is not doing anything beneficial, so I just get rid of it. I know that I've seen some tips and tricks out there as far as like the really small, fine rooting carpeting kind of stuff, like dwarf baby tears, things along those lines. That utilizing the pot or the rock wool for a short period of time while it grows out from it, like if you plant it in there. But I've always just been a fan of individually planting that stuff, even if it is really small and really hard to do. I still kind of just do it myself. I just take the time to, space out and screw up my shoulder, like reaching all the way down in there over and over and over again and replanting, and then just lamenting the next day, like, why do I put myself through this kind of nonsense? But a couple months down the road, I'm really excited that I did put myself through that. I put myself through that kind of issue. What happened here? So when it comes to planting the Staurogyne, this is one of those plants that realistically does not come from a nursery unless it's been grown, emergent above the waterline, essentially. More often than not, that is how it's grown. Even like it's rare to find something that is actually the Staurogyne repens that's actually grown underwater and actually propagated that way, unless it's a hobbyist, unless it's like a local hobbyist or something along those lines. But if you order a pot, generally this is going to be grown above the waterline, and so you have to take into consideration that it's going to have to go through some adaptive phases. Now, the good thing about it going through the adaptive phases is that right when you get it, this is the learning process of how to deal with it once it's established in the aquarium. This has been an ongoing question that I've gotten from a lot of people over the years. Like, how do you get this to carpet? Now, in my own personal aquariums, I have had two successful scapes with Staurogyne repens. How many times have I put this plant in my aquariums? I cannot tell you. It is so many. I've gotten two nice big full carpeted areas twice. I can tell you the successes are severely outweighed by the failures with this plant, and I don't know why. I swear it's like a personal affront or something, because no matter what I test for my fertilizer levels, for my pH levels, for my substrate, everything seems in line, and I continue to have some failures with this plant over the years. Now, why am I going back into it? Why am I going back into the fold here? Because it doesn't matter how many times you screw it up, just keep going back into it. And just keep rocking it out, and at some point in time, you'll get it right? And the things will become easier and easier. And one of the reasons I'm saying that is because right here, I'm getting it out of the pot, and I'm showing you guys how to trim the tops and stuff as this plant starts to adapt and actually grow into the tank. Now, these tops that I'm cutting off, and a couple of dead leaves and stuff like that right now in the video, but as I clean these tops, cut them off, I'm helping So if you look at where I'm cutting it off from, when I'm planting them in the tank, you'll probably be able to see a little bit better. There's little nubbins where it starts to sprout the plant, right? The plant starts to sprout, and it still has a stem going up, right? Just above those little nubs where the stem goes up, that's where you want to cut it. You can see that piece right there was much longer from where I just planted. It was much longer heading off and kept going off. I'm actually trimmed it from right there, and this is going to help it send down some roots and help to spread around. Like I said, I've had some success with this plant. I have more often than not issues with this plant, but I'm just going to keep going and keep doing what I'm supposed to do. And I'm thinking that one of the upsides is going to be, adding in these Fluval Freshen Plant 2.0 Bull lights, which by the way, I have nothing to do with Fluval, other than I just appreciate some of their fantastic products. But with this new light on here, I'm looking forward to seeing how it grows with this new light. So that's really one of the reasons that I grabbed some to bring it in. Is I got this light on here, so I want to try it out. I want to see how well it's going to work and how it goes along with this slightly different lighting situation that I've dealt with in the past. And that's kind of the thing. That's the main reason why I got it going. But as far as like trimming those tops and stuff like that, you're going to have to consistently do that with this plant. You cannot just allow it to keep growing and keep growing and keep growing. This is a plant that will need to be trimmed. It will essentially like outgrow itself within inside the aquarium. Essentially, if you allow the tops to keep stepping up higher and higher and higher, I've actually let it accidentally once go up to like almost 10 inches tall. When it comes time to trim everything down below, it has essentially killed off itself down below because it's moving up higher and higher and higher, and it'll just send out aerial roots, and eventually you just have this big floating area underneath there. So bear in mind that if you do have some repens, you have to keep trimming this plant and do not allow it to just do whatever it wants. You got to make sure that it's doing what you want it to do, and maybe that's why I've had failures over the years, because sometimes I've gotten super lazy and it's done that, and that's when it really like kind of went downhill. So I do have to remember to keep trimming this, and I have to remember to keep reminding you guys like, hey, you just got to keep trimming it. You got to be patient with it. And you gotta just keep rolling on it. And excuse me, I got some boogers. All right. All right. So let me answer a couple of questions from the chat here while I stretch my back. My back is killing me right now. I'm doing that rewiring up in our crazy attic, and it has been going a little bit nuts. Bismarck is saying, how would you consider a tank to be cycled? You want 1 week of no nitrites on the test kit, basically. Once you get to no nitrites for a week, you basically hit a cycle. Depending on how heavy your fish load and everything is going to be, then it will be cycled, but you want to slowly ramp it up after that. If you're going all the way from 0 to cycled, which normally takes 6 weeks, 7 weeks, somewhere along those lines to get it fully cycled from 0 to cycled. But there is a quick way to do it, and that would be to use a sponge or some biomedia from a cycled tank. Would be the easiest way to kick that going. And then if you're going from 0 to cycled by seeding it that way, and if you're gonna seed it that way, takes about a week, so it's considerably faster. It's a lot easier, and I find it to just be the way to do it. It's one of those reasons that I always have extra media and extra sponges and extra stuff like that on hand, so whenever it comes time for me to set up a new tank, I'm always ready to move some over from an already cycled tank, like the 240. Like the 240 would be a great example of being able to move over some media that is already cycled and stuff. move it over to a brand new tank, let it go for a week, 5 days, somewhere around there, and cycles real fast. It's basically like you already have the bacteria, so you're bringing it over to the new tank. I've been in an adaptive phase for like 3 months, it seems, Terry. Terry McDonald, yeah, you just got to be patient. You just got to be patient. I wish I really had some serious hot tips for Staurogyne, other than make sure your light is good, make sure you have a decent substrate on it, and make sure you keep trimming it back. Those would be the main things that I would say with it. If you have yellowing leaves, you're obviously pretty low on potassium and stuff like that. If you have holes in the leaves, then you're going to have to test, find out exactly what's really going on. But otherwise, it's not really crazy on the CO2, because this one comes from Amazon basin, so it's fairly used to being up in the air and being underwater as it's evolved realistically. So it's not too crazy for the it's not like you need to be gassing CO2 like crazy. And being able to do that. Like Terry's just asking good questions here, so I'm going to answer his next one. Siesta photo periods makes no real difference. Can you talk on it? I can talk on siesta photo periods 100%. Now, where did siesta photo periods come from, and what am I talking about? So a siesta photo period is essentially you turn off the lights. Turn on the lights, turn off the lights, turn on the lights, turn off the lights. Now, the only one that I've ever been able to find that was beneficial was a 2-hour break in the lighting cycle. Now, the only way, though, that was beneficial was running a 6-hour light cycle, right? So 6 hours on, 6 hours off, 6 hours on, and, 6 hours on, 2 hours off, 6 hours on equals 14, 10 hours off, then back on and going along that route. But the benefits did not outweigh the algae growth. So it realistically it never really worked out. So where this came from, where this photo period came from, is basically hydroponically grown tomato plants, right? Let's say tomato plants. It was either, a lot of it was tomato plants and things along those nature that were grown in hothouses, but also the marijuana growers of America were trying to figure out faster ways to grow things, is where this came from. And what a lot of those guys were doing was 6 hours on, 6 hours off, 6 hours on, 6 hours off, 6 hours on, 6 hours off. So essentially you'd end up, like every second, so every 2 days you'd have like 3 growing cycles, or is that how that works? So 6 hours on, 6 hours off, 6 hours on, 6 hours off, 6 hours on, 6 hours off. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, right? Yeah. So essentially what you do is you trick the plants into every 2 days thinking it had been 3 days. And some people reported a lot of extra growth from that, but it's really one of those things where in an aquarium, you just essentially end up growing more algae. So that's not a good deal. when you're talking about trying to make something that's aesthetically pleasing, I find the lighting period that is the real sweet spot of a lighting period is 9 hours on. 9 hours on is what I do, and it seems to work out perfectly. If I go up to 10 or 11, it's too much. If I go down, it's too short, especially on a personal level when I'm working around my tanks and stuff like that. Like if they're only on for 6 hours a day, drag, right? So algae growth and that kind of stuff kind of gets to be the big detractor from going in that. But I've never really seen that the plants were really growing all that quicker, though. And there is some science behind the plants being able to photosynthesize, so they need a certain amount of time to really ramp up and get their photosynthesis happening. Those numbers all seem to vary out there, but they're definitely a lot more than an hour. Almost all of them are well over an hour before they think photosynthesis is happening. So Let's see, I hit some blackbeard algae with Excel in my new 40 breeder, and it is turning red. Will it eventually fall off by itself? 54 punchy? Yes, it will. It'll turn gray next. It'll turn gray next and fall off. Carl Snow, this is exactly the kind of setup I'm looking to do for my 200-gallon. What substrate are you using? I've been looking at using the Fluval plant and shrimp stratum. Carl Snow, this is Fluval shrimp and plant stratum. This is the Fluval stratum, and I also have some ADA aqua soil in here, which, by the way, my opinion is they're the same soil in a different bag. Take that with a grain of salt. Doesn't really matter, but that's my opinion, is that those are the same soil. They just happen to be packaged in a different bag. And the other kind of little sandy areas you see in here, that sand in there, is Seachem's black sand, which I find sort of offsets nicely with the colors. Sort of offsets with the black sand is kind of a little more gray, the stratum's a little more black, and it kind of gives these nice little kind of sandy areas. And I generally only use that towards the front for the real fine root stuff. That's realistically what substrates are in this aquarium, and it's what I would realistically. This is the setup I recommend for anybody out there that is looking to do a planted aquarium. Those would be the substrate mix I would always recommend is the Seachem's black sand. What's it called? Seachem fluorite black sand. And the other one would be the shrimp stratum. If anybody's interested in where that stuff is, it is in the links down below. Obviously there's the Patreon, but there's also the Amazon store. You guys can check out the Amazon store in the links down below the video. Once the video is over, you can check those out, and then you'll be able to just kind of click into the Amazon stuff and check out what's going on. There's links in there. There might be some better deals, so always be sure to check around. But the stratum is essentially you get 3 bigger bags for $100 versus 2 bags of Amazonia for $100. That's basically the breakdown. So you spend $100, you get basically a whole extra big bag of the stratum compared to the Amazonia, the ADA stuff. Plus, more often than not, the stratum is shipped for free via the Prime. So if you have a Prime account, they're just going to ship it to you, and it'll show up in 2 or 3 days. So that's pretty bitchin' as far as I'm concerned. Let's see. Terry McDonald, when Staurogyne Repens does take off and begin to carpet, does it happen via runners? It will start to grow horizontally. So it wants to grow up, right? So those shoots that come up, you're actually going to clip those off, right? So the shoots that come up start growing vertically. You want to clip those off right at the little nubbin that I was talking about, where the little leaves start to come up. They start to sprout. There's a little nubbin, and then it'll send a stem up, right? So you want to clip it right above those little nubbins, and then remember to replant the top, because that's a whole new plant now. That top that you cut off there is a whole new plant. Plant that over there, and those little nubbins will start to grow horizontally, right? They'll start to grow horizontally and start to fill in carpeting. It does take about 3 to 4 months realistically to get a big carpeted area on this stuff. It might take a little bit longer, might take a little bit shorter, just depending on your setup, but it is something that is a test of your patience. With aquariums and planted aquariums and all this stuff, you always remember the biggest tool that you have in your toolbox is patience. Patience. Always be patient with the stuff that's going on. Don't try to jump ahead, extra steps ahead before you get to where you're going. And but patience is going to be the biggest tool that you always have. All right. Well, we've run through the video twice here, so we'll go back to the regular scene, and I will do my best for the next. Let's see, 5 minutes and 6 minutes. We'll go for the next 6 minutes and try and just answer questions. And I was just looking. No super chats today. Okay. All right. No super chats to answer, so I'm going to do my best to look through here. Stoner Kivo is here. What's up? Rotala Indica. Rotala Indica is a fantastic plant.
Probably only funny to me. Yep, it's fun. Only funny to you. It's only funny to us nerds, us fish nerds, the fish fam. It's funny to the fish fam. That's why we're here. Let's see. Barbara Jackson has small holes developing all over plants called by potassium or phosphate deficiencies, or maybe something else. They're nice and green with just a tiny bit of holes in the leaves. Tiny bit of holes in the leaves like that without any discoloring is typically going to be phosphate problems. So that's going to be the issue that you would really want to address at that point. But also remember to test. Remember to test to see what's going on. And very important to check that out. Now, I think we have a wink troll here in the chat. He's not a troll, but I think he's got multiple channels. That might be... Let me see here. I'm going to check. Oh, Jay's Aquatics. He's not a troll. He's a wink, but I think that's Jay Wilson. Because he keeps asking about Northfin food. So don't be mad at him. Don't be mad. He's not. I'm just joking around. But he keeps asking about the Northfin food, which makes me think that that's Jason Wilson. And I might be right. It might be wrong. I don't know. But he keeps asking about the Northfin food, which I do have Northfin foods sitting right here on my desk, ready to go into the fray very, very soon. Before I using it, Jay, I'm just giving you a hard time. Don't worry. But I do actually have some of the Northfin food here. I actually got from Jay when I was at the Aquatic Experience. Maybe a different Jay. Yeah, just giving you a hard time. Yeah, I will be testing out the Northfin foods. I just want to make sure that I'm testing them out without, because they're going to move in place of the other food. Because basically the food cycle that I go through, it's going to be replacing one of them, so that we can test them out in conjunction with some other stuff. So I'm going to be testing the community and the marine. Is this one right here? I'm going to be testing that out, see how that goes. And I have some of the super beta stuff that I got. I don't have a beta right now, so I'm actually saving that because this thing's like hermetically sealed for space travel, which is nice because it won't go bad. So I'm pretty excited for that. And then the cichlid veggie one, I'm actually going to start using that for the cribs and stuff. So it should be pretty good. We're going to try them out and see how they go in the tanks and stuff like that, and check it out. I've known Jason for a long time off the internet. Finally got to meet him in person. We've always had a lot of great conversations and stuff like that. As far as I know, Northfin is a pretty good food. I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen any real bad reports about it or anything along those lines. So let's try to answer some more quick questions while we only have a couple minutes left here. Hey, Corvus, how long until my cardinal tetras stop being a bunch of wusses? I got them yesterday, and none are dead or look sickly, but they are the biggest chickens ever. Cherry shrimp scare them. With any fish, them being moved is kind of traumatic, so just allow them some time to set in. If it's only been one day, I would give them a little more time. Worst case scenario, if you are really having some scared fish in your tank, don't be afraid to get some black butcher paper and just cover the tank around the front and the sides so that they're not seeing a lot of big things walk back and forth around the tank, which will freak them out. It's how some of my German blue rams died, because they would always and swim into the side of the tank and have issues after that. Let's see. Jay's Aquatics. The only reason I'm asking is because I watched you and Cory podcast about foods. So Jay Wilson is the guy who's always pushing Northfin on me. And your name is Jay, so that's what I was saying, who is that? Is that Jason in a different account? But yeah, so I haven't heard any bad things. I've actually got some of it literally sitting on my desk right now to get into the to run it through some testing. So we'll see how it goes. And testing, I just do the real world testing. Feed it for a couple weeks and see how things are going. Kathy L., I live in Portland. We had fires this year in our watershed. Now, after the first rains, my tap is coming out at 6. Wow. Should I add crushed coral or aragonite to my substrate or my filter? I lost 90% for I noticed the pH change. That's a little bit crazy. The easiest thing that I would do for your water changes, though, is go to like Home Depot, Lowe's, Menards, I don't know, whatever hardware store you have near you, and find a good garbage can that's on sale. The last one I bought was $16, and it is a 39-gallon, I believe, right? When it comes time to do your water change, if you're having that crazy low pH like that, the best thing that you can do, fill up the bucket with it, put in your dechlorinator. It'll be dechlorinated ahead of time. Put the lid on it and let it sit for a day or two. And it should come right back up to a pretty neutral 7, which is basically all that you could really ask for as far as water change water, if that makes sense. So that would be the easiest way to do it. It's the same kind of thing I do with my reef, where I pre-filter my water into the garbage can and just leave it, let it sit there, let it temperature acclimate and all that kind of stuff, and come right up to legit. You could speed it up a little bit by adding like a power head, so that it was water's like kind of rotating around in there, but that would be the best thing that I would do that's not going to cost a lot of money continually over time. But if you're already testing, you're ahead of the game, and so you'll be able to continue testing, because you must have some extra pH tests and make sure that you're coming to it. But that is going to be the easiest way to go about it. You can buy filters and all that kind of crazy stuff, but that's going to keep just adding up over time cost-wise. Whereas a garbage can, even if you got rid of all of your fish or whatever, you could still make use of a garbage can to throw garbage into whatever. I don't know. So hopefully that's something that if you are going to spend a couple bucks on, get that, and it'll still have some use, even if all your aquariums go away. I don't know. Ella Gregory, I got some Repens from PetSmart that was in jelly. I put them in my tank, and they do not look good. I just upgraded my light. Do root tabs help? Well, it depends on your substrate. I would first like to know some information about your substrate and stuff like that. But if it was gel grown, if it's in that gel, that essentially means that it has almost always its entire life been out in the air. So you are going to have some real adaptive periods. So like I said before, patience is going to be the biggest thing that you got going on. Patience, consistency, and just keep going along. It will melt a little bit, just like crypts. Like if you move the cryptocrines around, they will melt and kind of adapt to the situation. So if it's dying right now and you're still within that week, 2 week, 3 week period, more often than not, a month in or something along those lines, it'll really start resprouting and growing up. So I wouldn't stress too much. I certainly wouldn't take it out yet. I would just kind of just be hoping for the best, realistically, at this point. If it's still fairly new, it's probably just adapting to the fact that it's underwater now. So, and a lot of that plant that was grown above water is realistically it's just going to need to adapt. All right. When using established media to quick cycle a tank, what's the best way to keep bacteria going during that first week? Still need to provide ammonia, fish, food, etc. if not adding fish. Yes, Sarah Kanopko. Yes, you need to add a little bit of fish food. Not much, just a tiny bit. More often than not, there's going to be some ammonia and stuff going on from having set up a brand new tank, so I wouldn't be super concerned about it. If you're going longer than like 3 weeks or 4 weeks before adding 1 or 2 fishes or something along those lines, then I would be more concerned about feeding that bacteria. But it's just a tiny bit of fish food, just a tiny bit. It's really not a lot, so I wouldn't be super stressed out about it. Oh, let me see here. All right, well, we are coming up on the end of the broadcast. We don't have any super chatters to shout out today, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to shout out once again the new patronizers, the people that have kicked in on the Patreon, the new ones. How about that? Carl Snow, Teresa Keys, and Sandaman, Rob Woodard, Brett Dill,
James Hirsch upped his ante. He went from $5 to $10 a month. That is awesome. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. Tesla stuff at $5. Justin Bolyard. Your last name is very difficult. Justin B. Tim Lewis upped his ante. That one's deleted. Spencer Ballard went from $1 to $2. Thank you very much. Bill Tenover with the $1. Greg Nikitin pledged $1. That's dope. Nick K. Oh, never mind. Wait. What happened here? Now I'm confused. Because I think... Now I'm confused. I don't know. Totally confused now. What happened over here? I don't know. Well, I don't know. So shout out to everybody like Colin Deb Schramm, Bridget Rochette, Kevin Socha, Brandon Salas, DJ Collins, Lacrimosa, John Ugaletti, Dean Hanoi, Josh Peters, Daryl Dimer, Jorgen Dirkelsden. But thanks to everybody for chipping in on the Patreon. And I didn't have any super chats or anything while I was not paying attention. Okay, cool. Well, hopefully everybody out there is having a fantastic Monday. If you really wanted more, there is more. Check out on the internet, watch all the old videos and all that stuff. If anybody is wondering where you can get all the products and things that I've been talking about here, like plants and those kinds of things, head over to theaquariumcoop.com. Check that out. Check that out at theaquariumcoop.com. Use the podcast 10 with no space in between to get 10% off all your stuff and help support the podcast show. So if you guys like the Real Fish Talk, check that stuff out. Those plants that I have, that Staurogyne Repens is from the Aquarium Co-op. So if you want like basically the exact same thing, that's where you can get it. Cory's a reputable dude. And actually, if you haven't checked out the last couple short videos, check those out because they're only like a couple minute commitments and maybe you like them, maybe you don't. Hit the like button, the notifications, and all that nonsense. You guys know what that's all about. Aquarium Cowboy says would be a patron, but the parents won't allow it. Oh snap! Well, there's always showing up to the chat, sharing the videos out. Hey, you know what's free for teenagers? Sharing stuff on Facebook. That's free, right? Share that stuff out there, and maybe we'll get another member of the Fish Fam showing up, and that'd be cool. Always get some help out for people and things like that. But have a fantastic night out there, everybody. Don't shoot off any fireworks, and certainly don't crash your car and flee the scene, right? Like that guy that did to me, because that's uncouth. That's not cool. I believe Bob Steenfot is live after this, so if you are looking for another live stream, that will be a live stream to head over to. Have a fantastic night out there. And Steven Skoglund, congrats on, 96 days now? 96 days? Congrats, man. Keep it up. Have a fantastic night out there, everybody. Prepare your eardrums for the later. I'm going to try and stay away from the mic so I don't blow out anybody's eardrums this time. Anybody seen that button around here? Huh? What?